Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. This is going to be a quick one, I think. This is interesting about the WHO. Of course, we know in terms of Bible prophecy, there comes a one world leader, a one world government, a one world currency. That's all kind of straight up standard end time Bible prophecy spoken of in the book of Daniel, Revelation, etc. In the Bible. And so we know if it speaks of all those things, and so we're looking at events of the day and saying, could this lead to that sort of thing? And certainly in terms of the WHO, the World Health Organization, we have an interesting case where they seem to be attempting to consolidate sovereignty and choices and be allowed to enforce laws in the name of public health and safety, and that includes climate change. They're getting away from just straight up medical things, per person, pandemics and diseases, and they're actually going. They want to go the route of managing for the world climate change and implementing laws and lockdowns and other things in the name of public health and safety. And so this is interesting. Many European politicians have come out and said various things. They've been canceled, shut down, silenced, deplatformed about this. Of course, there's great censorship going on. You can't speak particular words. You can't say particular things. You need official government information if you're going to report on anything as it relates to anything related to the pandemic. It's a surreal world. Do you folks understand how censored we are and how censored the mainstream media is? In fact, what propaganda machines they've become. And I wasn't saying this 4, 5, 6 years ago. I was not saying that. Now, I don't think anybody thought that the mainstream was always 100% perfect and righteous. But certainly it's changed since the pandemic, where we all realize that something's going on. There's been a coordinated effort, similar to a wartime effort, to get all the public on the same page and get them all believing and agreeing to the same thing. And folks, that's called propaganda. And whether or not it's for the public good, you need to be aware of it, and the public should be aware of it, and the public shouldn't stand for it, especially since the pandemic is over, because there's things that occurred during it which need repercussions. All right, I've babbled on. This is an MP, a Croatian EU parliamentarian, Mislav Kalakusic, and he publicly declared the WHO a terrorist organization. Pretty interesting. Now, I'm not making this up in terms of YouTube rules. He said this himself. So let's go straight to the tweet here. Mislav Kalakusic, Minister of European Parliament, or member of European Parliament, MEP. The World Health Organization should be declared a terrorist organization because of the damage it has caused and the lies it has spread. This is a quote from the Twitter page. So YouTube, you better not take this down because I'm just reporting this Twitter post here. That is not my words. Today it would be safer to sign contracts with the Colombian drug cartels than with the WHO. And this is what he said. You can listen to the speech here. Incredible. And so he's speaking out about it. He said, the you know who, I can't even speak without saying the WHO, has only told lies. It should be declared a terroristic organization. They lied. That there is a new and unknown virus, that it is possible to make an effective you know what, and they declared that the you know what was 82% effective, that it protects us against serious illness and death, that all of us that all of course was foolish and lies. He says this is what Kalakusic says. So take understand where that's coming from. But interesting. So there are people standing up against this. It kind of renews your hope in humanity that people are standing up. And you may or may not agree with exactly what he says, but thankfully there is disagreement. And through disagreement, we can come to an agreement, at least, and come to middle ground on things like this. But I don't know that this is going to make it that far. There's still very few politicians standing up about this, although it's getting easier, it seems. It's getting, there's less chance of you getting canceled and thrown under the bus for these sorts of things. But shows you the times that we're in. And as we get further into biblical times, the censorship will only become more and more. There will come a time when the Christians will be thrown into prison, put in jail, brought before judges, and taken in by police, and even killed for their beliefs. This is what the Bible says is coming. Go read it. Go read Revelation. Go read Daniel. Go read the various groups of verses and chapters that we've read over the last couple months and the last couple of years. The Bible declares that all these things are happening, and history repeats itself. What happened to the disciples when Jesus sent them out? They were mocked. They were put in jail. They were killed in some cases, ultimately. And so don't think that your fate is going to necessarily be any different. I'll be straight up honest. Now, there's many Christians who go through the lives and they have no trouble. But there's that many, again, that have had trials and tribulations. And that's why you need to keep your faith strong. And that's what I need to do. I'm talking to myself as well. I need to keep my faith strong. I need to get in the Word daily, and grow that faith and have that relationship with Jesus Christ. Let's head on from there to the next thing about, and this is about, I don't even know if I can talk about this anymore. The current conflict over there. President of Belarus, he was hospitalized after a meeting with Putin. This is interesting. Seems he was poisoned. And seems he was poisoned in relation to just after a meeting with Putin. So there you go. Belarusian opposition leaders said that after a meeting with Putin, the self-proclaimed president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, was taken to a critical clinical hospital of Moscow in critical condition. So he was taken to a hospital in Moscow. Lukashenko, after meeting with Putin behind closed doors, so there's lots of security here. There's no one getting in and spiking his drink, that the Russian secret police don't know about. So behind closed doors, meeting with Putin, and he was urgently taken to a hospital in Moscow, where he is now located. The best specialists were sent to return him from a condition assessed by doctors as critical. His blood was purified. I guess he got a transfusion. Lukashenko's condition was proclaimed not transportable. So I guess they can't transport him back to Belarus, where he would likely prefer to go. And probably his own security service would like to have him back in Belarus. Because, while they are our friends politically, of course, they likely don't trust each other. The organized measures to save Belarusian dictator were intended to ward off speculation about possible participation of the Kremlin in his poisoning. So it says he was poisoned, and it was in direct relation with a closed-door meeting with Putin. So that's interesting, right? And these guys have high security. So is Putin trying to send a message to the Belarusian president? More than that, potentially. It's very interesting. It goes through a bit of a timeline of what happened. But here, there's a comment on this article, which I think is interesting. And, it's pure speculation, to be sure. But is Russia trying to take over Belarus as well? They've got a lot of money there. They've got troops there. They've got nuclear weapons there. Would Russia just be as happy if, they took over Belarus officially as well? Not just have a partnership and agreement with the Belarusian president, Lukashenko, but to actually just, occupy Belarus. There's a lot of supporters there. So maybe if Putin could get rid of Lukashenko, if he mysteriously died, then Putin could just sweep in and say, oops, we're just going to take it over and we'll add it to Russia. And that will go along nicely with our chunk of Ukraine. Well, here's a by the way, a comment. Lukashenko was given one of Putin's treats, says Dr. T. Now Putin will want to seize Belarus. And that's an interesting comment, isn't it? Instead of going to war against Belarus, maybe they could just take it if the leader was gone, if the leader was poisoned in this case. Very interesting, the timing here with the meeting with Putin. This we all saw coming, says this person. The question is, does NATO let Putin annex Belarus? Or does NATO resist? Does NATO care about Belarus? Or do they just care about Ukraine? Or are they just interested in a little bit of war going on in Ukraine because they're making a lot of money? It says this is a very critical moment. I wonder what NATO plans. They had to see this event happening. So very, very interesting, folks. And I don't think NATO would come to the help of Belarus. They're enemies. Belarus is very strongly working with Russia. So it seems to me that if Putin wanted to go in there and grab that land as well, while they're taking Ukraine, why not? And they have a friendly population there that probably wouldn't fight back against Russia taking them over. Could this be something that Putin's trying to do? Very interesting, and I haven't heard anybody talk about that yet, but that's very interesting. And, this could be all completely innocuous. Maybe Lukashenko was poisoned by enemies or something, and it just happened to correlate with Putin, and maybe that was a plan to cover up, make it look like Putin was trying to kill him. Maybe it was just heartburn or some sort of malevolent food poisoning of some sort. But it's interesting timing, interesting article. And this is Yahoo News, you can see there. So we'll see what comes of it. But again, is Putin simply taking land to get back Mother Russia? Is this part of his plan to take Belarus? Very interesting times. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. Be prepared. You ain't seen nothing yet. Things are going to get far worse. Censorship is going to get far worse. We're all going to get kicked off YouTube for talking about, the war over there, or the pandemic, or whatever the next thing is. Apparently Russia's found avian flu that has a 40% fatality rate among humans. So who knows what next is coming? And like I say, I think it gets far worse, and it has to get far worse before all the citizens of the world are on their knees begging for not forgiveness, because if they beg forgiveness, maybe God would change some things, but they're begging for relief from economic collapse, from famine, from World War III. And so I think it needs to escalate to a point where they are in that place, where they are begging for a world leader and a world government, and in fact maybe a WHO organization to come in and save them, and they're willing to give up their sovereignty. At that point, the WHO is asking for the ability to surpass the sovereignty of nations. At that point, when the world is that bad and the people are that desperate, they will give up their sovereignty and say, please do whatever you need to do. We'll give you all our power. World leader will bow to you. We'll take the mark of the beast as long as you fix it, as long as you give us food, as long as you bring some peace back into the world. And again, instead of calling on Jesus Christ, they call on the Antichrist. So it has to get far worse before the 7-year period even begins to kick off, folks. So I see it reaching a climax there, where everything's so bad in the world, apocalyptic, if you will, that the Antichrist has to come in, and the world is absolutely willing to bow to him, except for, the Christians, the Christ followers, those who are faithful. And when that happens, there's going to be such hatred of the Christians, because they're the ones opposing it, and they are ridiculous for not wanting peace and to go along with the world government to bring food to the nations, and people will villainize them, and people will put them in jails with pitchforks and flames, and it will be the Christians who will be seen as the bad guys. From all the propaganda, from all the pressure on people around the world. So we're entering biblical times. The Bible spoke of this, and there's patterns in the Bible that have occurred before our time, and pattern equals prophecy to the Jews. So if you see something happening in the Bible, it's probably going to happen again in the future, and that's exactly what we're going to be running into. So folks, as I said before, we ain't seen nothing yet. I think it gets far worse from here. So you need to be prepared. You need to have it settled in your hearts that you're going to depend on Jesus Christ, have faith in him, and at some point that may be all that we have left. Thanks for watching. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.